Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
Well. Welcome back to the channel. I am Nicole.
And I'm Skylar.
And here on this channel, we talk about healing ourselves.
We gonna do this one.
Welcome back to the channel.
My name is Skylar.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is a collective healing space
where we heal ourselves together.
I just gotta find myself. Really ain't got nobody else. Really ain't got nobody else. I just need to find myself. I just gotta find myself. Really ain't got nobody else. Really ain't got nobody else.
Today's video is about something that a lot of people look at as taboo and negative. But we have been having a lot of conversations about our childhood and the culture that we grew up in and the way that we experience a lot of emotions as children, young adults, and even in our later adulthood. We wanted to start just a little series, a couple videos talking about these emotions individually that we've experienced and kind of how we've decided to look at them from a more objective place, so to speak. And today's video is about
jealousy.
And jealousy because bitches be jealous. And even in ourselves, we be jealous and we don't want to admit it.
Motherfucking peanut butter and jealous.
He's not jealous. What is there to be jealous of?
Fuckers hate us because they ain't.
They
hate us because they ain't us.
That's not what it is.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Like, more so recognizing the emotion of jealousy and the way that it impacts us.
Right. We really want to talk about like how jealousy shows up in childhood and how it progresses throughout life and how it changes, but also stays the same at its core. Like getting down to the root of jealousy and what it actually is. And understanding that when we are jealous of others, it's less about the person, but more so about ourselves and the ways that we may be insecure or the things that we may want for ourselves.
Jealousy, like any other emotion, can be neutral. So first, let's talk about jealousy as an emotion, right? I think everybody in their lives can identify at one point or another where they've either experienced jealousy as an emotion coming from themselves, or they've experienced jealousy from another human being, or what they perceive as jealousy from another human being. So we all can identify with the idea of jealousy being, sometimes comparing yourself to another, or wanting what somebody has, or feeling like why them, or why don't you have that thing that they have type thing. So jealousy can show up in a lot of different ways. And what I've discovered in my dealings with understanding emotions better is that jealousy is an indicator of you wanting this thing for yourself. So it may be highlighting a point where you want to be a better person, or you want to level up for yourself, or you feel like you deserve something that you don't currently have. So thinking of it from that perspective, jealousy is not a purely negative emotion. It's what happens after we experience the jealousy that affects people negatively.
And oftentimes it's not always as intentional. Like you may not even recognize it. It could be subconsciously. So it does take some vulnerability and gentleness with yourself to be able to even recognize jealousy in yourself and in others.
Yeah, and jealousy gets such of a negative connotation that most people are not going to be willing to just readily be like, yeah, I'm jealous and experiencing this emotion or whatever. I guess this would be a good time for us to kind of talk about our personal experiences where we've experienced ourselves being jealous, because we can see that coming from other people in a way that sometimes, it has nothing to do with you. If you believe that, and this is just my personal belief, that we should not take anything personally because we are all the 4 agreements. If you ever read it, then you know what I'm about to say. If not, go pick up the book because it hits. But telling us to never take anything personally, because the way that we all respond to the world is in a way that from our own personal lens, right? So nothing that the idea, the way that Don Miguel Ruiz explained it in his book, is that nobody does anything with the intention of hurting you or affecting you or even impacting you. A lot of the times, most people are just thinking about themselves, their own personal universe, and nothing is really about you. And he went as far as to call us selfish for feeling like everything that other people do is because of us or has something to do with us, because we shouldn't take anything personally. We were talking about how we have witnessed jealousy show up in our childhood, different examples around us and involving us, including like children saying, you know, why you talk like that, or you trying to be white, or why you talk so proper, or, you know, picking at you for why you dress that way, or why you think you better than everybody because you got all these nice clothes and things like that.
Projection.
Yeah. But projection in a way of, because as children we're often unaware of what we're even implying when we're saying those things, right? So we talked a little bit about how jealousy shows up in childhood, and in our younger adolescent years, you know, the same thing happens. Hormones changes, puberty. Everybody doesn't get the same grace during puberty. Everybody doesn't live the same life. You know, everybody doesn't have the same home lifestyle, not afforded the same, you know, clothes, shoes, you know, materialistic things that mean a lot in adolescence. So we often learn to compare ourselves to others. So if you saw in friendships, sometimes we recognize jealousy coming up. And I guess this is my segue into the first time that I ever experienced jealousy in a friendship. Well, somebody made me aware of it, because this is what changed my perception of jealousy. And this was much later in life. This is like recently I've had this perspective shift, because before I was just hurt and I felt slighted, and my, you know, with much shadow work and much introspection, I've been able to see more objectively, right? So
we're at the beach and we're not too far from the airport, so you may hear planes.
Excuse the noise,
the wind, and everything. Yeah,
the earth. It's Mother Earth. What you gonna do? You know, we're just vibing.
2 hours later.
All right, so boom, cut to me being in a friendship with somebody who I really valued and really respected, right? And then we have this disagreement, and this person tells me that they feel like I'm jealous of them, and that essentially they got the information from the spirit. I was jealous. They were told that I was a jealous-hearted person and they needed to be cautious around me. And this really hurt my feelings, because, you know, looking back on it, I can see how, you know, being impacted as a young woman who lost her mother at a very young age, I did look to the women around me, friends, older women in, you know, my church environment, close friends, mothers, and all this different type of things, to kind of assess what womanhood looked like and what womanhood was, right? So cut to me having all of these close female relationships and having these be women that I feel inspired by, or else I wouldn't have been in a friendship with them, because, you know, like minds. That's the way that I used to look at it. So all of my friends I was very inspired by. I thought they were, you know, very brilliant in their own rights and all of these different things. And a lot of them have contributed to the ways that I have grown up to be a woman, because I didn't have a mother around to teach me. I didn't have that female, you know, dynamic around to instill those values in me. So in this particular friendship, I was hurt because I felt like, you know, if I, you know, at the time I said it too, like if I was jealous of anything, it was the fact of that person having a mother who loved and cared for them and being around them and things like that. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that I did have some jealousy towards her, and it was not that I was jealous of her or envious of her. I thought that jealousy was envy, but jealousy is the spirit of comparison. So in the way that I did compare my life to what it is that she had, that stable, loving home environment being provided to her, parents who looked out for her and did things for her and things like that. So in that way, I guess I was experiencing jealousy, and that was a hard pill for me to swallow, because I pride myself on not treating people, you know, like I love people as a general rule of thumb. Like I think that unconditional love is my resting state. So that made me, you know, feel some type of way about, you know, just understanding jealousy from a different perspective. Yeah, I guess we'll talk more about it after she shares her experience when she recognized jealousy in herself.
Well, first I have a question. Do you feel like recognizing that in yourself made it easier for you to recognize that jealousy was not necessarily a negative thing, that it was just a normal human emotion?
Yeah, especially for that particular instance, it really did, because, you know, I looked at it like, obviously my jealousy was stemming from grief because of what I no longer had and what I could no longer have in terms of like having my birth mother back on this earth. So yeah, it did change my perspective, because, you know, I didn't have any ill intentions towards this person. I didn't feel any ill ways towards this person. I wanted to see, you know, her thrive and win and all of these good things. But at the same time, I was comparing myself to her life, the support that she got from her parents, but it was coming from that hurt, you know, child inside of me who had to go without and didn't understand why I had to go without and why I had to learn through watching other people and things like that. So just feeling left out. So it made me understand that jealousy wasn't for me, it wasn't negative. And if it wasn't negative for me, then other people probably didn't experience jealousy as purely negative either. And it made me understand that jealousy just had a much broader scope than people talk about. People always make jealousy seem like it's the worst thing in the world, when in actuality it's just trying to tell you something about the way that you are attached to other human beings, or the way that you are moving through your life, and whether that be grief or whatever, the way that you are comparing yourself. And, you know, it may illuminate things about your self-worth. It may illuminate things about, you know, just all of those different things. And none of that is negative, because it helps you see yourself more clearly. So how can, you know, if these experiences had more neutrality to them in the community, maybe we would be able to get to the root of it, to have these discussions and understand that jealousy is not a negative thing. Right. It just teaches us more about ourselves. And then our friends wouldn't be so off-put by jealousy in friendships, or we wouldn't be so off-put by jealousy in romantic relationships and things like that.
Or admitting it to yourself.
Yeah, shaming yourself for feeling jealous, because there's no reason to shame yourself. You're just illuminating something that you want for yourself, and you should be able to have that. But you can disassociate or transmute the negativity of it to understand and use it as fuel to focus on yourself.
You go back to making it about yourself. You recognize that what you are jealous about isn't like, it's not this person or this thing that they have. It's a sense of lack. Right. Like, I lack these things, sorry.
346 minutes later.
So as I was saying, it's more so about, you know, understanding that it's a sense of lack. Recognizing jealousy was a little bit different for me. I don't feel like I had a particular person per se, or an experience where I was like, you know, I was jealous of this person, or like I recognized it. I recently recognized what jealousy looks like, or how it shows up in my life. I always thought that, you know, I wasn't a jealous person because society makes it seem as though jealousy is personal, like you are intentionally being jealous of this person or of this thing. And I can't say I've necessarily felt, you know, that feeling about something materialistic or like a relationship or something like that.
We like by airport or something. No, we are by airport or something.
It's a whole airport over there.
But anywho, sorry to interrupt.
Right. So for me, it's what I feel like I'm most jealous of, or I have been most jealous of in this life, is of people being able to express themselves however they see fit, whether it's loudly or, you know, just more so, I guess, them being themselves and being okay with that. Because growing up in a household where I felt like my voice was limited, I couldn't say certain things, or I had to say things a particular way, or I was a crybaby, or, you know, my feelings weren't necessarily valid. So to be able to see people living their truth, even as children, like, I would immediately get annoyed. And I used to think that, you know, I just don't like loud people. Like, I just, like, there's no need for people to be like that. Like, you can say what you need to say and not be extra. When honestly, those people could have just been being themselves. But it was more so a projection for myself, because I felt like I couldn't express myself that way. And in that particular moment, I couldn't recognize it because, number one, I didn't even recognize that I was jealous. I just thought that I was annoyed by this person. So it's like getting older, and it's not necessarily an age thing, because this is things that you can recognize in childhood if you have the tools and the support, around you to be able to even have that introspection. But just now being an adult and recognizing these things about myself, it's really been beneficial in me being able to learn myself, because I can recognize when I have been jealous, the things that I've been jealous, to be able to turn around and look at what it is that I feel like I'm missing, or things that I want for myself, or ways that I may be insecure, or ways that I don't show up for myself, or the way that I want people to show up for me. I'm making it more so like we said in the beginning about, me and my lack, and just understanding that, like what Nicole said, like I deserve to be able to have the things that I want. And I have all the tools and, the support that I need from, here on this physical realm, but also in the spiritual realm, to be able to do or to have the things that I want, or to be who I want.
Yeah. So you feel like now having more like of a conscious, like, objective frame of reference, do you feel like the jealousy that you were experiencing was because of like a programming, so to speak, in your childhood that kind of told you that, the environment programmed you to feel like you couldn't express yourself in a certain type of way? So do you, I guess that's what I'm asking, like, do you feel like it was programming, so to speak, like, as a result of programming?
Right. Yeah, I do. And it's, just thinking about like the programming, like it starts to bring up other negative feelings about being upset about, I was programmed to feel this particular way. Like I came into this world as an expressive person, especially when it comes to my feelings and the way that I feel. But to then be programmed for that to be shut down, you start to feel slighted in that healing process. So yeah, I feel like I got to the point to where I recognized where, I was programmed to be this way. Not necessarily saying it was intentional.
Yeah, and that is essentially, I guess that'll be our little conclusion. Like, essentially, that is what the reason that we're having conversations about emotion like this. And we'll definitely get into some other emotions in different episodes. But it's because, as with this being a collective healing space, this is a place for us to reprogram ourselves. That shit's not easy. No. And we have been programmed by people who have been programmed by people who have been programmed by people who have been programmed. And you see where I'm going with this.
Now the programming is intentional when you start to get, a little further back. But, you can't blame the people that have been programmed to be programmed because they're doing their part in this programming.
I mean, it's more so about recognizing like that it is programming, and recognizing that it's like, we were never meant to have certain perspectives or certain freedom of thought and things like that. It was very intentional the way that we were wired. So in rewiring ourselves, we have to be willing to kind of disassociate ourselves from the negative in the feeling, right? And with this being a collective healing space, we want a place to be okay to talk about everything that people ever experience in emotions, and make it a safe space for us to unravel that. Because none of us are inherently bad. Right. None of us are inherently good. We just are. And if we create more spaces for us to just be, we can make emotions neutral again. If they ever
make emotions neutral again.
Make emotions neutral again.
No, seriously, like we often shy away from being able to even acknowledge these things within ourselves because it's viewed as negative. Like we don't even let ourselves think about it. It's like, I don't feel this particular way because we don't want to be seen as bad. But we also have to recognize that these feelings are not just bad. They are rooted in things that are like sometimes out of our control, but a lot of times things that we can control if we just admit it to ourselves and work through what it is that we need to do.
Right. There are keys to our personhood, and here in this space, we want to know ourselves better than we want to know anybody else. So any key to your personhood, you gotta turn that motherfucker and walk through the door and see what's on the other side. That is the truth of who you are, and create a safe space for yourself to do that. So thank y'all for joining us, because this has been a very enlightening conversation. We hope y'all got a lot out of it. We didn't get to wrap it up as much as we want to, but going forward, we're going to have some really good we have been rebranding
Right.
and resetting and getting ready for the winter. So y'all just stay tuned because
Big changes.
big changes to the channel, big changes to the dynamic, and we are super excited to show y'all more of who we are and how we coming.
Right.
This is how we coming. I
But
bet.
also, you know, as we said in our last video, be gentle with yourself in all things. You really do have to be gentle with yourself to be able to provide yourself that space to be able to even delve into the kind of things that we're talking about. It doesn't help to be hard on yourself when you are already dealing with negative emotions. So just take it easy. Don't beat yourself up.
If nothing else, just tell yourself that you will be gentle at every step of this healing journey. If you can program yourself to believe any one thing right now, just program yourself to believe that you deserve gentleness. And that's it. And that's all. We love y'all.
Yes.
All right, it's been real.
I just need to find myself. I just gotta find myself. Really ain't got no